Uh, Thank you, Haik. Thank you, guys. And I'm very glad to see you all. Basically, for me, I've had keynotes in English not as many times as in Russian because my working language is, the main language is Russian. But also, of course, I understand Georgian. And after keynote, you can ask me questions in Georgian, and I'll try to answer. But it will be harder than in English or in Russia. So my keynote is called DNA, Even DNA is Designed. Basically, this keynote was one of my first big keynotes in Russian language. And I call it in Russian like ДНК, design нужен каждому. So everybody needs design. In this keynote, we will talk about basics. We will talk about how I understand design, and I ask you how you understand design. Also, we will talk about UX, UX research, user experience. We will talk about design management. We will talk about design thinking. So basically, this is some kind of introduction to the world of design. So let's start. So basically, hi everyone. My name is Gigi, or Gigi. And as Haik said, I have more than 30 years experience in design, research, and digital business. I worked in a Hong Kong fund, Deep Knowledge Ventures, who is investing in disrupting businesses, startups. Also, I worked in task news agencies. Task news agency where we were creating the design studio. So basically, we will bringing the design methodology in the big Russian news agency, who is also, which one is also transforming because TASS is nowadays more like IT company, not only media agency. I've also worked with Mail.ru with my brother for some projects. Also, I'm having my own creative and digital agency in Moscow. It's called Topaz. Also, I worked in Yandex, and nowadays I'm working in MTS. Do you know what is MTS? What's the company? Yeah, one of things that we're doing. Basically, MTS is Mobile Telesystems. It's more international company. It's not only Russian company. It's the company who's also invested in Vodafone sometimes in some days. So basically, in Ukraine, we're working as Vodafone. Also, we're in Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, and more than 20 countries. But today MTS is transforming like every mobile operator because we understand, and our president understands that MTS president, not Putin. So basically, he don't understand this. And basically, our president and our head vice president and our team understands that transformation is the basic way to stay in the business and become like more IT company and bring some new innovations, new business models, and so on and so on. And that's why MTS it's transforming to an IT company. And when we are talking about IT company, MTS is saying like, guys, we know about the users everything. We can locate them, we can get data from them, and that's why we can have like some kind of value proposition against like big banks or against Yandex and so on and so on. I will not talk about my certificates and so on. It's not interesting. So basically, this is me in the young age. So I was crying when I was reading Shota Rustaveli. And I was always a very creative kid. It was hard for my parents, I guess. But here is me. Here is me nowadays. And here is my team, my colleagues, my crew in Moscow. Yeah, we're having fun. So, Haik tried to ask this question, but I'll ask it. I like to connect with people and talk with the audience, but there's a lot of people here, so basically I will just try to understand your profile. So who is from IT industry, like engineers, development? Okay. Who is designers? Okay. Okay, who is from PR? Is there any PR guys? Marketing? Someone like, I'm from marketing and I'm from PR, it's cool. And other places like law or governments? Okay, cool. It's good that they're designers, marketing specialists, PR specialists, even the lawyer, it's cool. Okay, next question is, I'll ask to, can we handle the microphone so I'll try to make some kind of discussion. So guys, who wants to answer the question, what is design for you and who is designers? Can you tell me? You can answer in every language you want, even in German if you want.
Yeah, I don't know. We already turned off the sound system, so you don't need microphone. You can just speak up.
Okay. I forgot about it.
You want to just go? Have the microphone?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I realized lately that design is basically making the right choices. That's what gets you to the end product. But it's a process. It's, how should I put this?
It's already a very good answer. Okay, next one. Thank you.
Design is creating new products, not just products, but new things. Something didn't exist yesterday, now it exists. And that's all about it. Everything that we see is design. And
Cool.
It was designed by someone.
Great answer as well. Do we have any ideas? No?
Design is an expression of ideas, how we express our things, feelings, or emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And the designer is the person who creates the way we design things.
Cool. That's all?
Yeah, you also solve problems with it.
Okay.
Through iteration.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, guys. So basically, in many companies, the designer looks, for the project manager, for the bosses, the designer looks like this guy. But he knows how to handle things, so basically he wouldn't lost in this company. And this is the wrong expression. This is not a designer and this is bad client. But there is a lot of bad clients in the market, so designers should know how to handle with the bad client. If you read the book by Viktor Papanek, it's a great book, The Design for the Real World. Basically, what Papanek is saying that, and what you said, that basically design, so people is designers because everything we're doing, we're designing, we're trying to rethink, we're trying to solve problems. And when we're solving problems, on where we're doing some creative process, everything is design basically. And when I was teaching, I also ended this dramaturg courses. So basically, I'm like theater writer in Google. Maybe you've heard about it, like Kirill Serebrennikov and so on. One of my masters said that Gigi, basically writing a scenario and writing a book is as well as is a design process, because how scenarist or dramaturg or writer works, he basically structurizes everything. He visualizes the ideas and visualizes the words and everything. And basically, what I tried to say here is that everything that we are seeing here, like epic poem, Homer's Odyssey, like Kanye West concert, Kanye West as well as a cool guy who knows how to design things. Cave of Altamira, everything we see here is basically design. And everything is created by people. When we are talking about design, design is basically an effort. What do we mean about design effort as conscious effort or intuition? It means that consciousness design is basically, let's go back to like France, and there was renovation of Paris. And Baron Haussmann, in Russia we call it Osman, renovated Paris, but when he was designing it, when he was renovating the Paris, basically he knew what he was doing. He had a plan, he had ideas, he had budget, he had everything structurized. And this process is called like conscious design. When you know what you're doing and you have everything that you need to get things done. And when we're talking about intuition, there's interesting fact that Watson and Crick was working on DNA, the structure of DNA. So basically, when we're doing something, we need to visualize. So if we visualize the things, it's easier for us to try to understand what we're doing and when we're done. And basically, when they were creating when they were working on DNA structure, basically Watson and Crick just draw the DNA, how they think DNA looks. And basically, it was just intuition because they never saw how DNA looks. And this is the kind of way that we don't understand what we're doing, but we have some kind of intuition, and we just visualize the future. And after many years, when they saw the DNA structure, it looked like the thing they draw. Okay, next thing. We're looking at two, клякса на русском. I don't know how to tell it. Ink spots, yeah. Basic instruments of designers. So basically, we see here two ink spots. And I want to ask you, how do you think, which ink spot is Taketa and which one is Maluma? What do you think? We can vote if you want.
First is Maluma.
Okay.
Sounds Swedish.
Okay, who thinks that the first one is Maluma?
Left one, right?
No, let's vote. Who thinks that, who thinks that left one is Maluma? Okay. And who thinks that Maluma is on the left? Only free press. This one. Okay. Nothing bad happened if you think that this is Maluma. Nothing bad happened because human brain works this kind of way. So basically, what I'm trying to say that even the words and how we spell the sounds, this is as well it works like some kind of interface, so we visualize it. And many people, of course, saying that Maluma is more on the left side, on the right side, yeah, because it's more like circled, more gentle, and it looks more like Maluma sound. And Taketa is more like with this kind of sharpness. So right now we're talking about Gestalt psychology, and Gestalt psychology. One of main persons who invented Gestalt psychology was Wolfgang Kohler. Why I'm talking about Gestalt psychology? Because I think that every designer should have the knowledge of Gestalt, because when we're working with ideas, with visualization, when we're working with composition, and so on, Gestalt principles is very important for us. What do you think? What do you see here? What's that? Metal? Stone? What else?
Ice cream?
Okay, moving forward. Nothing happens. It melts. What do we see now?
Metal can.
Okay, alumni can, yeah. And what we seeing right now? What changed? What changed? And this thing giving you some kind of emotions. But what changed?
Logo, color,
Design. Design changed everything. And marketing changed everything. So basically, if we're talking about nature, nothing changed. Because for nature, it's the same thing. But when people like doing some kind of design and involved in this process, we've created emotions and we've created something new. So we designed this thing. This is the part of Gestalt psychology as well. What do we see in here? Okay. And now? Basically nothing changed. It is the same wood for the nature, but we call it chair. Okay, moving forward. What is the role of designer in product team? What do you think? What? Depends on the product. Okay.
Basically, you should express the opinions of the product makers.
He should express the opinions.
Shape the opinion of the producers.
Okay. What? Yeah.
User research, analysis, prototyping.
Okay. What do you think? Okay. No, not bad as well.
Can I try?
Okay. Okay.
It is to translate the intentions of the product developers, to translate the intentions, like to make the interface, to make the product usable, to make it.
So he is the part of engineer develop team.
I would say he's the intermediary between the developers and the user.
Okay, it's good. Okay. Yeah.
To send a certain message to the clients?
To send a certain message to the clients. Okay. So basically, there's some only I've like notioned only like 4, but there's a lot of them. So wrong stereotypes, like designer makes everything beautiful. That's wrong because it depends on designer, and not every designer is working with the visual kind of things. Designer is a bad manager, also wrong because the good lead designer is also a great manager. And not only lead designer, but designer should be a good manager. Also, designer knows nothing about business. Wrong because if designer is not some kind of person in art, like who paints something, or he can be like moving forward, doing everything he wants. But when we're talking about designers, we should talk about business. And if designer don't understand the business cases, it's very bad because his design should be sold as well. If he don't give profit to the business, then he's doing the wrong thing. Or he is just the person in art. And it's great as well. Designer only designs. It's also wrong. So that's the basic stereotypes as well. So when we're going to our parents or where we're talking with our friends and everyone thinks like, what is the design? But he actually, if he's doing this, it's bad designer. Okay, the bad pyramid. In early days, even in MTS, we had this problem. So basically, these guys like product, user, and development team, they saying like, we handle this part without you. So product owner can collaborate with the development team, and he can create something that bring value to the user. And in this case, when they are saying like, we can handle this thing, this means that when everything is done, like they created prototype, they're creating brand strategies, they created everything, and they're coming to designer and telling him like, color it. And he colors it if he's a bad manager. So basically this is very wrong and this is very bad because designer is one of the main persons who helps product owner to be like, as you said, he's like mediator. For the product owner, he connects with the users and he knows how to work with the development team. And there's so many designers out there, really, because when we're saying about designers, there's like, if you're opening like job titles, if you're searching for job in countries like, even in Russia, there's a lot of words like UX researcher, UX designer, product designer, UI designer, graphic designer. There's a lot of designers. And basically, if you don't understand these words, if you don't understand these meanings, you can't understand how to hire a designer, how to build a team. Because graphic designer can't give you the thing like UI designer can bring you. Or UX researcher, he's the researcher guy. His main knowledge is to gain information and to work with a person. And product designer develops the UI, visual language, and of interface, and also he knows how to prototype the user's experience. And so on and so on. Like if you are talking about Yandex, in Yandex when we were saying product designer, the product designer is the guy who can do art direction, who can do graphic design, who knows what is motion design as well, and he can help with this. He even can code, because in Yandex you can't become designer if you don't know basics of front end. But soon front end will be dead because AI will handle with this, but can't handle with graphic designer. I hope so. So first of all, designer is a researcher, designer is an engineer. And not only the person who designs, but in Russian, I'm saying like designer это в том числе еще и проектировщик. But when you translate, it's the things with translation, because design is also a проектировщик, and that's why, first of all, designer should know how to research. He should have great empathy. He's an engineer because he needs to understand how the guys in dev team is working, what problems do they have. And also, he's designer. So basically, we're moving forward to a product designer. The designer who is a holistic, and design is also a holistic process of creating products that improving lives. This is innovation. And there's a lot of this kind of innovations in the world. And this kind of problems doesn't solve any problem. This kind of products doesn't solve any problem. So basically, what we're seeing here, like bicycle for the family, trips, the mobile television system, and the problem with baby boom. Everyone was moving into the cities, the small houses, and no one thinks about child. And my favorite one, lazy bicycle. Yeah, great stuff. But it looks awesome. So when we're talking about innovation, there are two types, and there are a lot of types of innovations. But when we're talking about innovation, basically the innovation is the process of rethinking things. When we're talking about Apple and Steve Jobs, the Apple was also always knew the power of good design, and they rethinked everything. They rethinked how mobile telephone should work. They rethinked how computer should work and look. So basically, when we're like using the Apple products, they're innovative, but they also rethink things. Also, there's some kind of thing called radical innovation. So radical innovation is the things that no one expected. You can't rethink this because no one ever saw it. And you're bringing something new, like AI and so on and so on. There are a lot of technologies that it's more like radical innovation. Let's look back at history. No, wrong spelling. Okay, let's look back at history. I will talk like more about art, more about like styles in design in this part. So basically, we're seeing here two styles. Like there's Victorian style, which one was like the basic, the one of the how I can say it, законодатель моды, в общем, in the 19th century. Then Yeah, then trendsetter in the 19th centuries. And then everything changed basically to the modern, more functional design, what we called like modernism. But modernism is dead as well. We're moving forward to postmodern, but I'm talking about and metamodern and so on and so on. But I'm talking about the digital, and I will explain later. So basically how Victorian style looks. It looks like every stuff in your house is more important than you. In the modern functional design, everything tries to be like tries to not worry you about it's like clear. It's don't have some stuff that are trying to tell you that he's more important than you. So basically in the functional design, you're using the sink when you need the sink. And if you're not using it, it tries to not cry for like, use me, use me. And one of persons that I personally like is Dieter Rams. And I've took some of his main principles. He has 10 principles. I've took some principles that it's better fit in this keynote. So basically he's saying like good design is unobtrusive. Hard word. So basically what does it mean? Let's like move back. And when cars was invented, there was one problem that no one thought about having this sink. I don't know how it's called in English. How?
Screen wipers.
No one thought to like create screen wipers, and the cars was without screen wipers. And once in one day, the young woman saw that she was like watching the cars, and every day in the windy or bad weather, the person was always stopping the car. He was like trying to whip everything with his hand, and one woman like thought that's like the strange thing. Why nobody invented this kind of thing? And she patented this thing, and then the automobile concern bought it. So basically, what she saw like the design was created. The cars, more people were using the cars, but no one thought to create this kind of stuff that helps the person. Also, good design is long-lasting. This means that if you're creating something, it's cool if you're creating something that lives for like centuries, like the wheel. So basically, yes, structure changed. Yes, some things changed. The material changed, but basic stayed. It's circle that helps you to move forward. And people are using circle in a lot of stuff in the industries. Also, good design makes a product useful. So basically, what does it mean? This is very hard thing to work with. So basically, if you want to try to talk with computer with this kind of interface, you should be like genius, or you should be like professional who knows how to handle this. And when we're talking about usefulness, it was created basically in Xerox camp. And then it was moved to the Apple computers, and then Bill Gates took it to the Microsoft. So basically, what do I want to say when we are watching at this picture? We're seeing like the things, the interface, the things that are basics to us. We know how to handle calculator in these forms. We know what is folders, how folders work. So basically, in these days, for geeks, it looked like some kind of kid stuff. So basically, who wants to have computer in the house? Because computer is the thing for big companies. But then Microsoft took it wrong, because Microsoft loves to take it wrong. So basically, they created, they had the project called Microsoft Bob, and basically this Microsoft Bob is how I can say it? Ну, в общем, software, software with this kind of interface. So what we're seeing here, they tried, and if you look back in the early days, don't you remember when we were like using the internet, when we were on Disney's web page or other web page, they loved to draw like houses, and you're clicking on the house, and you're like trying to play in this house, and so on and so on. And they took it wrong. So basically, they tried to bring not a minimalistic view on how the interface should work. They brought whole our experience into this interface, and it doesn't help you. So basically, they do it wrong because it's very hard to use. People don't need the real world in the interface. They just need the basic things. Okay, moving forward. Good design makes a product understandable. So basically, in every country, in every city, you can't like say that there's a bad signs, road signs, and so on and so on. Usually, there's understandable, because if there's not understandable, it can bring you to the accidents. So basically, good design should be understandable. It doesn't work. Good design is zeroed down to the less detail. What does it mean? Why I'm showing you this Motorola Razr? Because the Motorola in the early days had one of the most iconic mobile phone. But the main problem of this phone was in business. Because when development team was developing this futuristic-looking mobile phone, they were saying that we need more time, we need more time. And business was saying, no, we should release it, we should release it. And they said that if we release this thing, that the problem will be that we can't handle we need more time to develop a new user interface, graphic user interface to this phone. So basically, they released like futuristic mobile phone, but inside, like interface looked the same as the Motorola old versions. And basically, they screwed everything. So they gained popularity. It was selling good. It was top-selling stuff. But it was top-selling for like only, in only short term. And basically, where is the Motorola? We know nowadays. And here we're looking in the forms. First one was developed by Dieter Rams. Functional design, and the second one was developed by Apple. So basically, we're seeing the patterns that Apple Apple's designer took to create their design, their products. And also, the good design is as little design as possible. And of course, we remember this, and they screwed everything because they were very popular, but they never thought that searching engine will be the main thing in the web. That's why they screwed. And they tried to bring everything, catalogs, pages, everything. They created some kind of media platform, and they screwed it. And what Google done? Where is Google?
Hey, Google.
Yeah. That's how Google looked early days, and that's clean design. So people, it's like window to the world. Nothing else matters for the people. So, okay, it's some kind of joke. Let's move to the stuff called user innovation. I like it because what we should know about it. It was the methodology developed by Eric von Hippel from MIT. And he has the great courses on Coursera. His book and his basics is called Democratizing Innovation. What does it mean? It means that Eric von Hippel is saying that the business guys or young entrepreneurs can watch what is happening in the market and how people are creating stuff. So basically this history of Sherman Poppen is interesting that this guy created the product not to do business with this product. So basically he created the first snowboard, which was called Snurfer, for his young daughter, because he wanted to bring some kind of present in the new year for his daughter, and she couldn't handle the skis. And he was very good of creating stuff. And he just took 2 skis and created some kind of new product. And then it was called Snurfer, and nowadays it's like $1 billion industry. But this guy wasn't thinking about business. He wasn't thinking about gain patent and so on and so on. He just innovated something because he wanted to bring joy to his young daughter. And this is one kind of user innovation, when the big industries should look how people create stuff for themselves, and how the big companies could transform it to the multi-billionaire industries. Also, there are interesting story about Napster. I guess you know what Napster is. So basically, the Napster story is that Sean Parker and Sean Welk was a great entrepreneurs and specialists in creating peer-to-peer connections and so on. They were more engineer guys, and they looked at the market and they saw that people are sharing MP3 players with a lot of different ways to share MP3 players, and no one thought of creating peer-to-peer system that this audience can share MP3 player easily. And so they saw this user innovation that people like to share MP3 player with each other, and they created Napster for file sharing, and they connected millions of people, and it basically transformed the whole industry as well. Of course, Napster was failed because in these days big brands, musical labels were very powerful, but the iTunes, Spotify, there came from Napster as well. What is the power of unification? When we are talking about unification, it's cool to talk about the Chinese emperor Qin Shi Huang and his terracotta army, and also his way of transforming the army in the process. So basically what he saw that his army was always failed. Why? Because when one soldier were dying, another soldier can took his arrow, because every arrow and every bow and everything was different. So soldier is dying, he can take your arrow and he can't use it. And he was the first innovator who said we should bring unification to everything. And then why the Chinese army become the most powerful in this region. But then they failed because Mongols invented something other. How to handle horses. How to handle horses and but it is a very great example of unification, because unification brings the speed, the process, and the value to not only to the business but to the army as well, and to everything. What is the power of visual hammer? What do you think? What's that? Everyone knows it. Do you know how Burberry's logo looks like? Not new one. Not new one, old one.
The guy on the horse?
Guy on the horse. Guy on the horse with the wings. Yeah. But many people don't know how Burberry's logo looks, but they understand how their pattern looks. Also, what's that?
iPhone 2?
It's not iPhone 2, but basically if you're seeing iPhone, you can understand it's iPhone. And if I bring some kind of Android phones, maybe you will know which one is Samsung, but I don't think you can handle to find Huawei and HTC. It will be more harder. So basically, when I'm saying about visual humor, some historians are saying that basically the pirates use the visual power of design to like bring some fear to the guys who they trying to rob. And basically they use this this idea of flag, about Jack and colors, and they brought fear. So basically, even if the opposite side was more like strong, they brought such fear to the Europe and to the world that when the people were when Captain was seeing this Hell Jack, or how they call it, it brought fear. So basically, what I want to say that when you're using the design, you can use it to bring fear as well, because this visual things works very good. Design-driven or data-driven design. When we're saying about design-driven and data-driven design, there are basically two companies that are good examples. So basically, we're seeing Airbnb. And the Airbnb is saying like they are using design-driven data. That means that Airbnb wants to create the emotional part of design and interface, because they're trying to bring some kind of community. And when you're browsing Airbnb, and when we are saying like Airbnb, you're not only think about the interface, like graphic interface, you're also experience something that you can't experience like in Booking.com. Why? Because Booking.com is more data-driven design. What it means? It means that they think about the emotional side many ways less, because every designer and every interface are basically based on the machine learning algorithms. So basically, the design is changing in the way how the person is using this design. Of course, Airbnb is using the same methodology, but as I said, Airbnb brings design more forward than Booking.com, and they are trying to bring some kind of new experience to the user. And of course, metrics matters, because without metrics, you can't understand your product is good or bad. And metrics matters, but emotions and experience are the real key to success. What do we see here? Do you have ideas? What's that?
Manhattan?
No. If you look more carefully, you can see like it's like the city is structured like a bird, and this was the era where Le Corbusier's ideas and the ideas of modernists made everything terrible for the humans who are living in the city nowadays, because when they were constructing the cities, they were constructing the cities based on this crazy thought that everything old is bad, and we should bring something new. And basically, the houses is the places for people to. It's like car for living. It was the main idea of Le Corbusier, that house is the car for living. This is the Brazil. This is the new capital of. It was the new capital of Brasilia or Brazil, and it was developed such way that it don't have the spaces for people to walk. So if you want to go to some place, you should try to use the car. Without car, it's impossible to live in Brazil, because there's huge roads, huge distances, and so on and so on. And what people do? People always know how to find the way to to try to. It's like if you see this picture, people don't love to use cars anymore because there's a lot of road jams. So basically they created some kind of park here. So the way how to handle the things. And it's the bad way to create the stuff, because you should understand what people want, and people are showing you how to transform the places, and not only the places, but in the digital world, we know everything about people, and the people are telling us how to transform the product and to bring some new meanings or some more useful stuff in our products. What is user-centered design? User-centered design means that, of course, in the early stages of developing the product, we're involving the designers and researchers. And of course, we're involving in the early process our users. Because in the early process of creating your product, you have, the time to change your business model, change your product. In our days, you don't need to code the product, because you can create the interactive prototype, and you can research how users use your scenario or your product and gain more knowledge and create more useful product. What's that? It's white space. Okay. Another story about the why the early involvement of users are great. Do you know about the product called Bourbon? No one knows what Bourbon is. Okay, basically the Bourbon was created when Foursquare was created. The Bourbon is today it's called Instagram. Bourbon was created as some kind of analog of Foursquare. So basically it was web-based, browser-based product application. So it doesn't have any application, it was based on browser. And what was the wrong idea? Because the guys wanted to have like exponential growth. Do you know what exponential growth is? These guys wanted the exponential growth, but when the product was developed and released in the market, they saw that like users are not growing as exponential as they wanted. And when they tried to understand the users' patterns, they understand one thing, that it was too basic functionality in their app that users liked to use. It was photos, targeting the photos, and filter. So basically, they threw this application, they reinvented things, and they brought like Instagram. Basically, what does it mean? If you bring the product that has a lot of functionality and it's not tested, and you saw that users don't use like 80% of your functionality, it means that you're slowing down the growth of your product. And they rethink the things. They said they took only the functionality of adding photos, filters, and targeting the photos. That's all. And then they grow exponentially, and then they were brought by Facebook. Bad thing for them, and for us as well, I think. Okay. There in MTS, in our design lab, and in UX labs everywhere. So basically, I forgot to tell you what design lab means. Basically, what I'm doing, I'm having like free, how I can say, направление как? Free directions, yeah. So basically, I'm bringing the design management. I'm working with product designers, and we're having the product designers teams, and also we're bringing the decentralized processes of managing the designers. And also we're having UX lab when UX researchers working. And in UX lab, we're having some kind of UX market. So basically, if I'm showing you like 1, 2, 3, 4 UX research methodologies. There are more than 200 of methodologies that researchers are like using in the context. And what is corridor test, first impressions, is basically I have some prototype and I'm like trying to show you my scenario, user scenario, and trying to understand how you can handle it, how you can correctly like move to this scenario. Paper prototyping is the fastest ways to visualize things. Usability testing is when you created, you can code something or you created prototype using the CGM's like scenario, user scenario, and you are like seeing the patterns, where the user is having problem. A/B testing, sometimes many product owners or many product teams are when we are talking about A/B testing is not the way that Twitter was testing the interface. When you're bringing two different interfaces, like you redesigned the whole Twitter and you have the old Twitter and you targeted it and trying to gain the information. It's not classic A/B testing, because classic A/B testing is when you bring this kind of interface, when you bring the same interface but there's some kind of changes, like you change the composition of the block or you've changed like some like elements in the interface, then you're doing A/B testing, because this is the same interface with the small changes. Okay, let's move forward. Do you know this quote? Yeah, basically Henry Ford, it's a fake news. Because Henry Ford never said this thing, and why we know this today? Because one UX researcher thought in USA thought that it's no way that Henry Ford could say such a dumb thing. And he like wrote a letter to the Henry Ford Foundation and said like, we're having a problem here. And then what's going on? And they like explored every his statements, every his stuff, and basically he never said that. Why? Because Henry Ford is not such a stupid man to ask the people what they want. Because if you ask the people what they want, of course they will tell you that they want the faster horses. So basically the same thing this guy said. Why he said that I don't want to bring like marketing research or some kind of research when I'm bringing to the world like iPad. Because no one used the iPad, and it's stupid to ask the people, do you want iPad? No, I don't want iPad. I want a pen and a paper. So basically what it means, the basic thing, it's not, we're not saying that it's bad to research the market or user patterns. The main thing is how you ask the questions. Because do you want iPad? It's like direct questions. You should understand what problems do person have, why he don't like the solution that he has right now, and so on and so on. And it's more interesting knowledge. So basically, you should understand the specific purpose of testing. Not every UX specialist is really good at research. We're trying to bring some knowledge of research to our product designers. But basically, when we're talking about research, we are hiring psychologists, sociologists, the people who knows how to talk with the person, who knows what how to direct, how to try not to manipulate with the respondent, with your user. And basically, when we're researching, the product team and designer are in the other room, and they are like saying what is happening. Don't forget that research is the way to improve your business, and don't forget about UX depth. UX depth means that when we're researching something, we're gaining a lot of knowledge. And when we're like bringing this knowledge, this analytics to the product team, we're telling them, guys, we're like looking at what you're doing, and this is the critical stuff that you should improve right now, and this is the stuff that you can improve in like in the early future. And early future like improvement, it's called UX Dev. Okay, what about brand experience? It's good with you.
Here at the UX conference in San Francisco, I'd like to ask Don Norman what he thinks about the term UX.
Once upon a time, a very long time ago, I was at Apple. And you know, it said the experience of using these computers is weak. The experience when you first discover it, when you see it in the store, when you buy it, when you can't fit it into the car. It's in this great big box. It doesn't fit into the car. When you finally do get it home, opening the box up and, oh, it looks scary. I don't know if I dare put this computer together. All of that is user experience. It's everything that touches upon your experience with the product, and it may not even be near the product. It may be when you're telling somebody else about it. That's what we meant when we devised the term user experience and set up what we call the user experience architect's office at Apple to try to enhance things. Now, Apple was already pretty good, so we were starting with a good product, making it even better. Today,
Okay, do you understand what he said? Yeah. Okay, basically he's saying when we were invented, and Norman Nielsen Group invented this term, like bring some new kind of stuff to this term, new meaning. He was saying, like, guys, when we're talking about user experience, it's not only like you're researching, like doing some usability testing. It's like whole experience. It's the experience when you're looking in the Apple Store. You're having some kind of experience and emotion, and you understand that you want this thing. Like it's some kind of manipulation, but in good ways. Then you experience how the packages looks, and you like it or dislike it, but it's experience. And it's designed. Also, when you're shopping, you can shop in the Apple Store or you can shop later. It's also experience of shopping. Then the experience of delivery. If you're using Amazon, if Amazon failed to deliver the stuff, it's also experience. And basically, when you're enjoying stuff, it's also the experience. It's a cool guy called Wilsacom, YouTuber. Okay, then we're moving forward to the values. And I love the values of Netflix because Netflix was working in a very hard market, and they had a lot of competitors. And basically what they've done, they always thought globally and out of box. They always think small, so they always were creating the MVPs, minimal valuable products, and testing it. And they know when to stop. Basically, when they're seeing that the stuff they bring forward, the new product, new service, is failing, they know how to stop and when to stop. Because if you don't know when to stop, then this failure can bring more and more bad stuff to your company. And they know how to grow fast. And they released, recently they released the book about how they grow fast. And it will be cool if you're interested in this stuff. They're talking about how they grow and how they're using their values. And also they're using algorithms and so on, but they're bringing emotions forward as well, and it's cool. Many times when we are talking to business, when we were creating the design process in the company, and MTS is like 70,000 people working in MTS. When we were talking with business, when we were creating the design lab, the business were also always saying when you can show us the ROI, when you can return of investments. And my position as well as my position and the position of other design leaders is that you can't approach to design like when it's not investment. So basically, it's not like something that you invest in because if you don't have this design in the core business, you don't have this value. You can't you can't rethink stuff. You can't bring some innovation. You can't work with users. And if a company and business is thinking that design is ROI, it's the wrong idea. There's a lot of metrics in design, but ROI is the wrong idea. And when you are trying to bring the design in the business, in the startup, you should know that design is a core business function. For example, when we are saying like IBM, a lot of people are like, it's emotions as visualization. We're seeing, we're trying to like go back and think that IBM is like corporate company and so on and so on. But basically, IBM was always invested in design. They had the best designers in market, like Paul Rand, who created the IBM logo and brand strategy and so on and so on. And nowadays, IBM is one of the top leaders in design thinking and bringing design to the world. So basically, not only Apple knows the value of design. When we're saying about design thinking in IBM, they're having some kind of framework. Basically, this framework looks similar, but have been structured. So basically, what they're saying, every product have a life cycle, and in this life cycle of the product, we should always observe, reflect, and make. Observe, reflect, and make. This is their ideology, and this is like design thinking framework. But in IBM. Design thinking framework by ING, it's like classical design thinking framework. What does it say? So basically everything, like three main categories: understanding, exploring, and materialize when we're releasing the product. So basically everything, and if you see there are step backs. So basically design thinking process always gives us the opportunity to step back and not to bring the product draft or bad product to the market. So basically everything starts with understanding. So empathy is when your UX researchers are going to the fields. And there are two cases. One case that your product or your business knows what they want, and they are giving the researchers like the task. We need to understand these like patterns and so on and so on. Or UX researchers are going to the fields and trying to, like people innovation, and trying to understand. So you don't know what basics you want to analyze, but you're trying to understand what the problems users are having with the solutions that are in the market. Then we define. It means like. We're having the design workshops, design thinking workshops in MTS as well. And when researchers are bringing the analytics, they're saying like, we have some kind of problems. Here's the problem of user, here's the problem, here's the problem. In the CGM, if we released already product, we're seeing the problems, and the problems having like critical, not critical, and so on and so on. On the design thinking workshops, the product team are defining the main problem that they want to handle, they want to solve. Then we ideate, then we're prototyping, then we're testing, and if everything goes good, we're implementing this product. And when we implemented our minimal value product, we're moving again to an empathy because our researchers are again testing and researching the MVP. There are 3 great books. First one is Design, Think, Make, Break, Repeat. There are like 100 ways to use the design thinking in your business. Then there's a great book called Sprint. It's the design thinking principles and how they are using design thinking in Google, and creative confidence. So if you want to know more about creative thinking and design thinking, they're great books. Okay, it's the final part of the presentation. What you think about when I'm saying UI? Basically, we talk about it, and I can skip it because when we're saying UI basically is a user interface. When we're talking about user interface, so assembly line, pilot's cabin, it's a user interface. And sometimes when we're like talking about user interface, if you Google a user interface, there are graphic user interfaces. So basically, user interface is it means that there are a lot of interfaces, a lot of terms, a lot of things that we have interaction with. So basically, assembly line, pilot's cabin, everything has interface. And nowadays, there are more than 20 different interfaces, like AR interface, voice interface, tactile interface. And also, when we're talking about the evolution, now I will talk about the evolution of graphic user interface. That's how Yandex looked back in the days. Crazy. But Artem Lebedev loved it. Nowadays, Yandex looks like this, so it modernized. It's more clear. And when we're talking about some stuff that people don't understand how it changed, like when we are seeing the Yandex logo, we can't understand how it changed when Yandex released its font, brand font. So basically, with this kind of things, people will never understand the changes. But for the view, when you're looking at the old version and the new version, you feel the difference. It's like some kind of evolution. Also, when we are talking about evolution, of course, we are talking about material design and design systems and so on and so on. And if you remember, I was talking about Victorian style, the modernist functional design. In web, we never had the opportunity. Only today we have the opportunity to say that postmodern or metamodern or postmodern are brought to the web, because web never had the opportunity to express the way that artists or graphic designers express their way. But nowadays, engineering, the software and everything are giving us opportunity to bring some kind of postmodern stuff on the web, on the digital. When we're talking about the evolution, of course, the functional design, the modern design is creating some kind of square, creating some kind of rules. Because when we're saying Google, Yandex, even MTS, there are more than 1,000 products released by these companies. Even in MTS, we are having 500 products that working inside the company, for core business. And we need the order, we need the squares, we need the principles. Without it, we can't move forward. And when we are talking about the principles of design, as called modern principles of design, of course we understand that we need some kind of patterns. And Brett Frost, who created this thing called atomic design, bring the new vision to the way how we're using and creating interface and order. So basically, everything starts with atoms, molecules, organisms, templates, and pages. And if we want to change one icon, we're not changing the whole interface. We don't need to redraw it. We're changing one icon, and in every interface, this icon is changed. There are a lot of interesting articles about this kind of this kind of unification of design, about Facebook, how they changed one icon, and the change was they were trying to change it for 6 months because they were researching only one button. When we are seeing this kind of stuff, this doesn't mean that designers are creating the sketch templates or PSD templates. everything that we're seeing, like atoms or molecules, they are in code. So basically, they're in code, and they're having like code-based, not only like visual stuff. But the problem in this thing is the problem that I was talking earlier about expression, about how we can, like when we're looking at many products nowadays, and many guys in Russia, even in Georgia, are using material design. And when they are using material design, they're like took the experience, took the visualization and the experience of the person called Google. And even if they add the color, they stay in the Google patterns. And they can't experience, they can't bring new experience to their products. And for every brand, for every product, for every service, the personality matters. When we're seeing like the product of Telegram, Telegram doesn't need any personality visually, because Telegram wants to become your first messenger into your phone. So it should look basically similar as the messenger, and so on and so on. When we're talking about Airbnb, of course Airbnb needs emotion and patterns, and using like iOS patterns design system, they're trying to bring some experience, even when they were using like Android. And when we're, basically if you're a designer or if you're experienced, you like Android, you know that Android have the basics that you can change, because it's the core principles of Android, how it works. But even here, like Airbnb trying to use tab bar in the down section. And it's not usual pattern for Android products, but it's usual for iOS. Okay, so basically that's the kind of problem that we had in the MTS. The first problem, the products were never researched, the products were developed by dev team, engineers who doesn't understand the principles of design. The product designer who worked in this team, he was working like, we've done everything, now you should like correct typography or add the color. And we tried, and nowadays we're trying to create some kind of principles, like principles of our design. We're having a lot of work to do in the future, but we're trying to systematize our design. So like media product or the product, this is like difference. So we're trying to add some kind of system. This is the product for the QI testers. And also when we are talking about the design, we should not forget about the inclusive design, because inclusive design means that the big companies are not only creating products, but they are thinking and empathize the contribution that understanding the user diversity makes to informing these decisions and trust to including as many people as possible. So basically, when we're creating some kind of product, we should think about the people who don't have the opportunity to use our product. And one of the things that I love in the Microsoft is Xbox team, because the Xbox team done great job in inclusive design. And there will be some kind of video.
So there's three principles of inclusive design. There's recognize exclusion, learn from diversity, and solve for one and extend to many.
We had a ton of customers out there that couldn't play Xbox games, and they wanted to, and it was the hardware that we built that was blocking them from doing that.
Our traditional Xbox controller is industry leading, it's the greatest controller you can get. But if we look at it from the recognize exclusion lens, it's been designed and optimized over multiple generations around a primary use case, and that use case has a lot of assumptions. It assumes that I have two hands to hold it, and it assumes that I have two thumbs for these sticks. It assumes that I have a fluid range of motion and fine motor control to hit these buttons. It assumes that I have the reach to get these bumpers and triggers. And it assumes that I have the endurance to hold it for like a long gaming session.
And so once people understood that, hey, there's something we can do about that, we can build hardware, it doesn't have to be complicated, it doesn't have to be expensive, and it can open the door to Xbox gaming for so many new people,
wasn't something that sort of the company handed to us to go do. It was a grassroots product.
It was very hacky, at the time.
So basically, they created the controllers that, like the system. It's not only one controller; it's the whole system that can, like, every disabled people can use the Xbox to play. And basically, the inclusive design is important for every designer in design society, because if we are not thinking about this, then no one will solve this problem. Because when we are like walking in our city, even in Tbilisi, when we're seeing the how it's called, переходы подземные, underground, how? Underground crossways, when we're seeing it, if we don't have empathy, if we don't think about the other persons, we don't care about this problem. But if we empathize and we are seeing this the other way, how the people who are disabled can like walk out of the house to go to the store if they have so many kind of hard, that we created. And basically the inclusive design is very important for the design society and for us all to solve this kind of problems. So basically you can add me to the Facebook. If you want, you can read my Telegram channel, or you can read my, like, how can you call it, column in the Bang Bang Education. And I have some interviews with Georgian designers because I'm trying to bring the knowledge about Georgian design to Russians and the people who speak Russian. So basically that's the end of this big presentation. Thank you very much.